The lady on the wooden bridge called out, "Hey, did you see the crocodile?" And then she laughed. And my husband and I looked at each other in consternation because we were also swimming in the clear blue waters of Bitter Springs, which is down near Mataranka in the Northern Territory of Australia. Hi, I'm Trudy Rankin, and I help solopreneurs and side hustlers like you learn how to tame the technology you need to build and grow your business, even if you're not that confident with tech. And if that's something you'll find helpful, remember to like and subscribe so you get notifications about new videos coming out. But back to my story. Was that lady serious or just joking? Because this lady was a local, and the locals here are known to have a bit of a sense of humor. But a little frisson of concern shivered down my spine. I mean, who wants to meet a crocodile coming at them when all you were expecting was a brief reprieve from the heat? But we'd kind of gotten over the terror that the thought of meeting said crocodile used to bring. This is freshwater crocodile territory, and they'll only attack if you bother them. And we were pretty confident we weren't stupid enough to bother a freshie. So we decided to keep swimming. You see, we'd developed confidence in our ability to look out for things near the water that unexpectedly goes snap. So after our first run down the channel that's carved into the rock, we took a quick breather before starting again, only to be interrupted by a second lady who sounded like a tourist this time, asking us if we'd seen the crocodile. And when we said no and looked most unconcerned, the lady said hesitantly that she'd heard someone else saying that they had seen one. I thought she was referring to the first joking lady and thought no more of it. And back down the stream we went, wearing our very unsexy looking masks and snorkels and feeling like we were swimming through an aquarium. It was truly beautiful. Clear blue water, all sorts of bright green plants growing underwater, old stumps covered in darker green algae, and little fish everywhere. But when we jumped in for our third round of water filled blissful flotation relaxation, a third lady called out, "Hey, did you see the crocodile?" And this time, when we looked up to see who was talking, it turned out to be another local lady, but this was someone from my husband's work. And this someone is not inclined to joke. "No," my husband called back. "Was it a little one or a big one?" "A big one," she said. So we got out. But she added, "It went in the other direction." And from that moment on, all of our time we spent swimming in that beautiful place, well, it wasn't quite that peaceful. That little frisson of potential danger was back, and I kept my eyeballs glued to the sides of the stream looking for that crocodile. We didn't stop enjoying the water, but we sure did keep a weather eye out for any lurking crocodiles of any size or shape. And I suspect it's like that for your business. You know there are risks and dangers out there, but you don't want to be doing anything else, so you know you need to stay confident and you need to keep a weather eye out for potential challenges so that you can keep your business going. But as much as confidence is essential, so is knowing when you're swimming too close to danger. At a business, you need to trust your instincts and know when it's time to take a calculated risk or get out altogether. So here's 5 key things to do when you're aware that you're swimming with crocodiles, but you think the risk might be worth the reward or decide that it's definitely time to get out. The first one is that you need to trust your instincts, but don't panic. We heard that first comment about the crocodile, but we kept swimming. Why? Because we had confidence in the situation and knew that if we were careful, we would be safe. And in business, especially when you're working on a one to one basis with clients, you might hear whispers about a particular client being difficult or unreliable. And just like with a crocodile, it's important to stay alert, not to panic right away. So imagine you're working with a client who initially seemed fine, but starts piling on unrealistic demands or constantly criticizes your work. Maybe they never seem satisfied or they devalue your contribution. The first few times you may brush it off thinking it's just a rough patch. But as the red flakes pile up, it's essential to trust your instincts. Are they making your life harder than necessary? Are there things you could do to clear the air or maybe improve your processes or communications with that client? Definitely take the time to explore ways to address the issue. But if the situation becomes toxic, it's time to seriously think about moving on. Now, the second thing to think about is assessing risk, and that's thinking about what's the worst that could happen. When the second lady asked if we'd seen the crocodile, we weren't that worried. Nobody else seemed to have seen it except for that first person who was laughing about it. Nobody else had jumped out of the water, and nobody ran screaming down the path going, "Crocodile!" And in business, this is where assessing the real risk comes into play. Sometimes you'll hear things that sound worrisome, but upon closer inspection, they might not be worth the worry. You need to do some critical thinking here and ask, what's the worst that could happen? Now, suppose you're approached by a client who offers what seems like an incredible opportunity, but something just doesn't feel right. Maybe they're offering exposure instead of payment, or there's an upfront cost with vague promises of big rewards. Before grabbing hold with both hands, take a moment to assess the potential risks. Is the reward worth that risk? If not, walk away before you find yourself swimming in truly dangerous waters. And that brings me to my next point, knowing when to walk away. So when the local lady that my husband knew from his work asked if we'd seen the crocodile, we knew things were a lot more serious than we'd thought, and we paid a lot more attention to our surroundings. In business, there's going to be moments when the warnings escalate and the risks actually turn real and happen, or eventuate, as they say in project management jargon. A client who seems difficult might turn into someone who refuses to pay, or a project that started off promising could spiral into a time-consuming mess, and that's when it's time to seriously consider walking away. If you're chasing unpaid invoices from a client who continually dodges your calls and emails, it's time to make a hard decision. No matter how much work you've put in, if the client isn't paying, it's not worth sticking around. And walking away might feel like a loss, but it's better than pouring more energy into something that won't pay off. And then there's my fourth point, which is you need to stay vigilant even when things seem fine. So even after we heard that the crocodile was real and not someone's idea of a joke, we didn't immediately get out of the water, but we did keep a weather eye out for it and any other lurking dangers. So every time we paddled downstream, we kept just that little bit more alert. And in business, even when things are going smoothly, it's important to stay vigilant and keep a close watch for any risks that might arise. So, for example, say you've worked with a major client for years and everything seems fine. But if you rely too much on that one client for your income, or if their terms slowly start to erode your rates, it might be time to rethink the relationship. Long-term clients are great, but don't get so comfortable that you miss the signs that the relationship may no longer be as beneficial as it once was. And that brings me to my last point. And that is, when it comes to taking calculated risks, sometimes it's actually worth staying in the water. So let's talk about taking calculated risks. We knew we were swimming in freshwater crocodile territory, but we'd weighed the risk. Freshwater crocs aren't typically aggressive unless you bother them, and we felt confident that we could handle the situation if we did see one. And sometimes in business, you have to take a risk to grow. And there's going to be moments when you need to take a risk to invest in your business, whether it's enrolling in a new course, hiring a coach, or investing in new tools. These decisions come with some level of risk, but often they can lead to big, big rewards. Just like we weighed the risk of staying in the water, you'll need to assess the potential upside and decide whether the risk is worth it. The important thing is to sit down and deliberately think about your risk versus reward situation as logically as you can. Try to take the fear and emotion out of it while you decide what to do. And then, once you've made your decision, go back in and check with your gut. What's it telling you? Sometimes our subconscious identifies things that our awake brain doesn't see, and it's worth paying attention to. So, just like swimming in waters where a crocodile might be lurking, navigating your small business or side hustle requires a really careful balance of risk and reward. And whether you're dealing with a difficult client, chasing unpaid invoices, or deciding whether to invest in your own growth, the key is to stay alert and trust your instincts. Not every risk is going to come real. Not every risk is super dangerous, but knowing when to stay and when to walk away is critical to your long-term success. And if you'd like to know more about the 9 confidence building habits that I personally use, check out the video that's up here. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, where I share a story and relevant business tips, let me know in the comments below and be sure to like and subscribe so you know when the new videos come out. And I'll see you next time.